This episode is sponsored by Kendo UI. Kendo UI allows you to build better apps faster. They have a comprehensive library ranging from data grids and charts to buttons and sliders. Plus, you can use their components as plain JavaScript as well as in Angular, React, and Vue. They have a large collection of customizable popular themes like Bootstrap and Material. Go check them out at javascriptjabber.com/KendoUI.
Hey everybody, and welcome to a special episode. We have panelists from the following shows: Adventures in Angular, React Roundup, and Views on Vue. So if you listen to any of these shows, they are going to show up on your feed. And I'm just going to go ahead and do the panel introductions like I normally do. If the panelists could let people know what shows they're typically on, that would probably help people who don't listen to those shows. So I'm just going to start with the panel that's furthest left on Zoom. We have Aaron Frost.
Hello, I'm on Adventures in Angular.
Shai Reznik.
Hello, I'm on Adventures in Angular as well.
Divya Sasidharan.
Hi, I'm Divya. I'm usually on the Views on Vue podcast.
That's right. You were also recently a guest on JavaScript Jabber.
That is correct.
Joe Eames.
Hey, everybody. I'm on JavaScript Jabber, Views on Vue, and Adventures in Angular.
Lucas Heisch.
Hello, everybody. I'm Lucas from React Roundup.
Charles Max Wood. I'm on all of the shows, almost all of the shows on devchat.tv. So we have a special guest, and that is Sean Merron. Sean, do you want to say hi?
Yeah. Hey, Chuck. Good to be here. I had the pleasure of hopping on JavaScript Jabber and my JS story in the past. So good to be back.
Yeah, and you do a few interesting things. One of which, if people are podcast listeners and they're interested in finances, not financing. I think you discourage financing. You can go check them out at twofrugaldudes.com. And you also have an interesting product that you've just launched that is related to what we're talking about.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. So through the Two Frugal Dudes podcast, I had the pleasure of meeting some other people in the personal finance community, and then ended up at a conference called FinCon for personal finance content creators. And there I met my co-founder of a new product called Mastermind Hunt to help people find mastermind groups. And I've been doing that about a year now.
Nice. And for people who are interested, I'm just going to go ahead and let people know now we're doing a webinar on January 3rd, right?
That's right. Yeah.
At 2 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to be talking a little bit more in depth about mastermind groups. But I wanted to get it on the show because what I really care about is helping people find the freedom in their careers or their jobs or whatever to do whatever it is that they want to do. So for Angular developers, they want to write more Angular or they want to write better apps. For React developers, same thing. Vue developers, same thing. And one thing that I have found over the years that has really helped me is either finding a mentor or finding a group of people that all want to learn together. And we were talking about the mastermind groups, and I'm like, man, this is exactly what I did. And so I thought, okay, well, Sean knows what he's talking about with mastermind. I have some experience. I think some of the other panelists here do as well. And so I just wanted to give people the opportunity to learn about mastermind groups and then, give everybody a chance to go and form some mastermind groups, especially around the beginning of the year when you're starting to set goals around leveling up. So do you want to just kick things off and talk about what a mastermind group is and how they operate? And then we can, the panel can jump in wherever they want and ask questions.
Yeah, sure thing. And I totally agree. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for the awesome people that I've been able to surround myself with around, along the way, along the journey. And I kind of started off with, coworkers when I first got into the as an employee in the career space, and then eventually getting involved in the software development community, going to user groups and conferences, and then wanting to talk to these people on a regular basis. And actually, one of them had introduced me to a concept of mastermind groups. Actually, my co-host, Kevin Griffin, I think who you're familiar with. He's been on the show before. So being a software developer, I've always been inspired to try and write my own software on the side. I've gotten involved in the startup community. So meeting other entrepreneurs and other like-minded individuals, I was introduced to this concept of mastermind groups. Didn't really know what it was. It's kind of like this gray area. I've heard about them. You look them up online. You're like, it's still kind of hard to figure out what they are or how to run one. But basically, it's kind of like you mentioned. You surround yourself with a few people with maybe similar goals or aspirations, and you talk with them on a regular basis. And so you get together maybe every other week. Maybe you're both trying to either move your business forward, learn a programming language, pay off debt. Maybe you're both e-commerce web developers, right? And so you kind of deal with similar problems. Not both, sorry. It could be anywhere from 2 to however many people you want. Usually we'll see them anywhere from 4 to 5 kind of work well, people in a mastermind group. But again, you talk on a regular basis. You talk about what you're currently working on, share something that you learned and a problem you need help with. And then you have all these other people, kind of helping you with that problem, giving you their feedback. And then it builds this little accountability group that hey, by the next time we get together, I better put what they just told me to work, right? So when we do come back and meet again, I'm taking that advice. I'm learning from other people's mistakes and hopefully moving to the next level.
Gotcha. I'm curious if any members of our panel today have had similar experience where they've connected with a group of people and, either for a fixed length of time or for an indefinite length of time, talked about code.
I tried it I tried it several times. Once for business stuff, like startup stuff. And one time it was around code, but not in a structured way, just like meeting everybody. And when it was on like the business side of things, what I found out is that we didn't have like a timer on anyone. So we didn't have like 10 minutes that everyone can talk or something like that, which made it a very one-sided or two-sided kind of conversation where somebody took the 2 hours and we just helped him. And then we tried to make it a rotation, but it didn't last. It didn't survive. More than a couple of times. So I wonder if you have any advice on how to keep it for longer periods of time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very common problem, actually. I've seen that in groups I've been a part of and heard the same exact thing you just said from other people that were in groups previously and struggle with staying on pace or staying on track. And I think that's the biggest thing that people don't remember or forget really fast or really quickly is that, hey, you have a set amount of time here. Whether it's an hour at a time every 2 weeks or whatever it is, and you need to try and make sure that you get the most value out of that time and come into that meeting prepared. I've seen a lot of people come to the meetings and just try to on the fly, in their mastermind group, come up with what they want to talk about, or just kind of go on this tangent. There are going to be times where maybe someone does need a little bit more time, and you're going to have that time too, right? And you kind of rotate around that. But it is up to the other people in the mastermind group to kind of keep that person, I want to say in check, but keep the meeting moving forward. And so what we do is we actually, each one of my mastermind groups has a set of questions, right? And we set a timer on those questions as well. And we say, hey, you have 10 minutes to talk about, how your accountability goal went last time, whether you met it or not, why or why not. And then we get into, okay, what are you currently working on and a problem you need help with that you might get 15 minutes on. And so it's really unless you have one person which you can do one of two things. You can dedicate one person as like the leader of the mastermind group or the moderator, you can call it, right? That is responsible for that. Like that, they're good at that. They're good at keeping people moving forward. They're, instead of letting someone ramble, they'll cut them off, because mastermind groups are supposed to be brutally honest, right? Like, hey, like you keep kind of going around the question here. Let's get to the point. Keep digging into them. But it's really everybody's responsibility. I like groups where everybody's kind of the moderator and everybody, you're not just there when it's your turn to be in what we call the hot seat, like you just mentioned, where you're the one talking about maybe the problem you're dealing with. You're also, it's all about participation. So even when you're the one even when you're not in the hot seat, it's your responsibility to kind of help make sure the group is moving forward and help ask the right questions. So yeah, usually a lot of that is because of rambling or trying to beat around the bush. So I do a really good job at trying to make sure the meeting is moving forward, the right questions are being answered, or just being, hey, you have 5 minutes left. What can we get accomplished here before we run out of time? Because we do need to get to someone else. Or at least everybody talks and says, hey, let's go ahead and let's skip my mastermind group this week, or my hot seat. I don't need to talk this meeting. I'm okay with giving more time to whoever may need it because I realize they need it. But it's either you got to dedicate one person to it, or everyone else in the meeting has to be aware that they are all active participants and need to help keep the meeting moving forward.
Now, I'm getting this concept here about, like policing things and how to like some of the overall organization, but I'm just still curious, like rubber meets the road. What are like some examples of things you would like when you started talking about this? And so was it you, Chuck, that asked if you'd ever done this to talk about code?
Mm-hmm.
I originally said no, but of course I would say that's definitely not true. There's definitely been times in the past, but it's been at work and it's these organic conversations where you might chat for 10 to 45 minutes with a coworker about a very specific code topic that isn't about like, hey, how are we going to solve this one problem in code, but more like something bigger, right? Or not 100% directly applicable to the job. So for me, I guess that probably closely fits, but I'm still curious to hear in these groups that have happened, rubber meets the road, what are examples of like, all right, we sat down and here's what we talked about, and we talked about this for this length of time in the whole group, or we talked about it for the whole length of time, the whole group, and how long was the group? I'm still curious to hear experiences of that.
Yeah, sure. So what we actually do is I actually have a document that I create for every meeting. And before the meeting, I'll just give you one example of a mastermind group I'm in. It's with two other software engineers that are also, kind of involved in startups. And we're all kind of working together on building our own products, right? So every meeting, this one we do a what's called like a round robin style. So we meet for an hour and we meet for an hour and all three of us get about 20 minutes to be on a rotating round robin hot seat. During that time, we open up the conversation talking about our biggest win for the week. Whoever's on the hot seat goes first. And so, for example, my biggest business win, with Mastermind Hunt, I sold our first subscription to a user for $60 a year organically without any affiliate or anything. Like that was a win maybe that happened. For example, I talked about previously in a mastermind I was in. And then we'll move on, and the next question will be, did you hit your accountability goal last week? Whatever it may have been, because every meeting you want to walk away with some kind of takeaway task, right? That you're going to hit by the following week. And we like to use the concept of, SMART goals. You may have heard that acronym before. I can't even remember. SMART, measurable, achievable. I can't remember what the R is, probably like realistic, and then time bound goals. So you say, I'm going to do X by X, and here's how I'm going to do it. So, for example, with Mastermind Hunt, like actually, that's a great example because as I was building that product, I actually, I was talking to this software engineering startup mastermind about it, and every 2 weeks we would meet. And so when I came in the meeting, whatever the next piece I was working on, let me think of an example right here. So, for instance, like billing, setting up subscriptions and billing customers within Mastermind Hunt directly. So I would come in and say, hey, I'm working on this billing feature. I need to integrate with Stripe. I was using React. Actually, believe it or not, this is my first React app. I used Mastermind Hunt as a test to learn React, and so I was new to that. And some people in the mastermind actually had experience using React in the past. Whatever my last accountability goal, I'd maybe talk through why I did or didn't meet that if I didn't get a certain piece of code done, right? And then I would problem I need help with. Hey, I'm looking to integrate with integrate React with Stripe. I see there's a few libraries out here, like using Stripe Elements, or there's the Stripe checkout cart. I forget what the name of that one was. I didn't use it, right, because I got recommendation from them. Hey, I used that in the past. You should definitely use the React Elements, Stripe Elements library. And here's the link to GitHub. And boom. And here's an example, by the way, that they were able to send me a code snippet. And I said, awesome. All right, by the next time I get in this in the mastermind group, I'm going to have this all written out. I'm going to have the checkout piece working, have billing working, and I'm going to have coupon codes set up for affiliates. Like that was my goal that I set by the next time I was on in the hot seat. So I not only got advice from others on how to kind of take a shortcut to be able to implement this feature quickly. I also was able to kind of quickly figure out the next piece that I need to work on within 2 weeks. Right? It's not this big rock that I'm trying to hit. By the end of the year, we know what those are, but it's really what's the small task or that you really think is achievable by the next time we meet.
So it's like a stand-up meeting.
You're thinking like a Scrum, like kind of agile stand-up meeting. Yeah. I mean,
it has some elements to that, to be sure. One other example that I have of this, a bunch of us in the Ruby community got together and studied Structure and Interpretation of Computer Programs by Abelson. It's an MIT book. It's a rather old book. So the book has exercises in it, and we would hold each other accountable to the exercises. And some of them were kind of hard. I think it's actually built around Scheme is the language in the book, which is a Lisp variant. And so we just worked for 13 weeks, worked through the book. So everybody knew what the rotation was for the hot seat. And essentially what you would do is you would come in and you would present your solution to the exercises, and then you would explain, things and ask your questions, and everyone would give you feedback and help you learn. And so there was a structured way forward. You could also do this with like free code camp or Pluralsight videos, or just get together and have people checking in on you to make sure that you're, kind of like what Sean was talking about, where it's like, look, I'm going to build these features into my side project, and I'm going to go learn about this new way to test React applications or Angular applications, or I'm going to go learn about this other feature in Vue, and you can level up that way together, even if you're not necessarily working on the same things.
Yeah, and you wouldn't necessarily want your manager or a project manager, or someone else in that kind of meeting, right? Like if we think of the whole daily stand-ups, this is like for you to find others maybe on a similar level or maybe a little above or a little below you to kind of get together and just work through problems and, pass stuff on each other on a regular basis. Chuck mentioned mentors, right? I've done one-on-one mentors and gotten so much value out of that, where here it could be a whole group of mentors and you all kind of bring different skills to the table because, there's something you can maybe give your mentor and they can give you. It's, you don't want to find someone way up in far away from you that you can't even give back to them. I mean, that'd be great if you could have them, but, it's finding people with a similar level of skills, maybe a little above and a little below, and just kind of working and talking through things on a regular basis to kind of just help each other move forward.
So I have a question about like a zoom out question about the benefits of, because you need to get someone into the state or convince people that, it's worth it to, invest their time to go or to join a mastermind group. So what is the problem that in a higher level, so we talked about like specific examples, but in a higher level that a mastermind group can solve, and that it will be worth it for people who are more maybe, shy or want to solve stuff on their own, or, what will make them go from that state into the state of, I can see the benefits in a mastermind group where I go every week and, does it make sense what I just asked?
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah. So the cool thing about the reason actually why we did Mastermind Hunt was because it was kind of weird. Like, how do I find a mastermind group? How do I start one? Again, I met my co-host locally here in Hampton Roads area in Virginia Beach, and through that, I got introduced in person, right? But yeah, the benefit I saw, and especially when I started getting into the personal finance world and started doing stuff, with my podcast, is there was all these other people out there that already had been doing great things that I wanted to network with and I wanted to learn from. And it clicked with me when I went to a conference, FinCon again, last year. And I left the conference and I was like, how do I talk to all these awesome people that I met on a regular basis? And like, how do I partner with them? Like, it's always hard to kind of just, hey, you can't just really email someone, hey, I have this idea. What do you think? Let's work on it together. You kind of have to build a relationship with them, right? And that's where I saw the value in mastermind groups helping as a networking tool as well. And I actually walked away from that conference and I got 12 other people that were like online idols, honestly, like people like, that I had been following online in the personal finance space for a long time. And I was able to say, hey, I'm thinking about starting a mastermind group online, virtually, right? So you don't have to be in person. And we could just get together every 2 weeks and we could work on, we can talk through whatever your next step is in your online business. And it was great. I got all these people that I didn't even think I could get. And just because I asked, and they were excited about the idea, they thought it'd be cool just to have people to bounce ideas off of because they didn't have it and no one to really do that with on a regular basis. Then to build this personal relationship. So then out of that came all kinds of opportunities, right? So for instance, now we cross promote a lot of our content together. Maybe there's an introduction to some other online person I want to meet, or entrepreneur, or someone in the personal finance space, or I want to get on a podcast, for instance. Now I know I have a connection that can introduce me. The other mastermind I talked about, the one I'm in with other software engineers. So recently, we had a $30,000 training gig come out of that someone in that group got because of knowing one of us in the mastermind group. No, that wouldn't have happened otherwise. And we also got one person in that group a 6-figure job that needed something because money wasn't working out at that time.
Yeah, I'm going to throw a few other things out. I just sent an email this morning to the mail list for devchat.tv, and I basically asked people what their problems were. And you have to realize that about half of our audience is newish and the other half is extremely experienced. And most of the questions I got back were from people who were extremely experienced. So one was basically, I go to work and things are nice and neatly organized, blah, blah, blah. But when I get into books and guided tutorials, I start getting overwhelmed. Now, that's not a new person problem. That's just a learning style problem. Another one was, I've been doing this for 20 years and I'm bored. And so I want to learn, how do I go freelance? Another one that I got was, I'm trying to transition from being a front-end developer to a back-end developer. How do I do that in a way that will help me get a job? And so these don't have to be challenges that are necessarily at the beginner level. And they don't even have to necessarily, these were all career examples. But, you could have a mastermind group where you get together and you go learn all the new features of the new ECMAScript standard. Or, and so you just work through one every week, or have somebody, ask their question about whatever, and everybody kind of researches, and then you come back. Or, there are a lot of ideas, and it just depends on what you want to learn, what area you want to level up on. And I think that takes a little bit of knowing where you want to end up, but having other people there to kind of bounce ideas off of and push on your thought process around things is really, really helpful when you're doing that. And so the problems tend to be a little bit more personal and complex when you're more advanced, but they're still there. You still have problems that you're trying to solve, a place you're trying to get to.
Okay, so now I have this idea and I want to create a mastermind group. How do I do that? Is there a structure? Is there a certain way I should do it in?
Yeah, absolutely. So typically the way I've kind of learned over the years of just trying to put them together myself. So you find your members, right? You figure out who you want to be in the mastermind group. You can designate a leader if you want to, like one person that's kind of going to, just be the one that asks the questions every meeting or that keeps the meeting rolling. Or you can make it kind of rotating and say, hey, everybody's a moderator one week. We rotate every week who's going to be responsible for keeping the meeting going, just kind of making that participation shared again. And then you kind of decide on a format. Well, first of all, schedule, right? So how often do we want to meet? Maybe it's every other week, which I find works really well. Maybe an hour at a time, half an hour, depends on how many people you have in the group. Again, I've seen, most typically you'll see mastermind groups around 4 to 5 people. It works pretty good. I'm in one right now that's 3 people. That's kind of like really niche, like we have a very specific niche that we work in, and there's not a lot of diversity. And then I have one that's actually 12 people, and that's that personal finance content creator one I was talking about, because we have that one is a mixture between podcasters, bloggers, YouTubers. We like the diversity, and so we kept that one pretty big. And then you have to decide on a format. Okay, so we have this block of space. How are we going to use it? The one where I have 3 people in, what we do is we have each one of us is on what we call the hot seat that every meeting. So every meeting, we each get 20 minutes to go around and answer a few questions. Those questions we came up with when we first started forming our mastermind group. Like, what are the key things we want to ask each other every time we're on the hot seat? They can be whatever you want. Typically what they'll be is, this is the ones that I find work really well, is first of all, share something, share a tool, a technique, a book, anything. Start off sharing something with everybody while you're on the hot seat, something cool that you think you want everybody could get some use out of. And then after that, did you hit your accountability goal from our last meeting? How did it go? What happened? Why did you not hit it if you didn't? And then usually the next next question is, what are you currently working on, and what's a problem you need help with, right? And so from that point, and sometimes did you hit your accountability goal is going to lead into that, but if not, this is like the key question that I ask in my meetings, because does what you're currently working on even align with your goals for the year and the problem you're dealing with? Why is that, occurring? And we really want to find out, why it's happening, dig in deeper, ask some brutally honest questions, be real hard about it. And then the last question when we leave, after we kind of all talk through it, is setting, what is your new accountability goal? By the next time we get together, what are you going to have done based on all the things we discovered today? So that's the format, right? And then you have to decide on how are we going to meet, some kind of technology. You can use Google Google Hangouts, Skype, Zoom. What are we going to set up? Are we going to record all these questions and answers in a Google Drive, a document? How are we going to maybe talk to each other outside of when we actually meet for a particular time? Are we going to use Slack or some other type of chat communication program? And so what I found was there's many different ways to do this. I've even seen like email check-ins as a mastermind group. Like, let's just every 2 weeks talk about where we are in email and then start a thread. Pretty crazy, right? I've seen Facebook mastermind groups. So just create a private Facebook group and go that way. There's lots of different ways you could set it up. And the biggest problem I saw was it's really hard to kind of get started, right? Like, it's just hard for people to find groups out there or to create groups or to put all the technology and pieces together to actually keep them running. And that's when I said, okay, I'm going to try to make this easier. And that's when we built Mastermind Hunt as a place where you could go and you could find mastermind groups that are out there that need people or looking for people. Or you could create a new mastermind group if you don't see one, where you could just leave it out there and wait for people to join. And then it has it kind of built in like all the things I talked about, right? So being able to set a schedule, being able to go into a chat and talk on a regular basis outside of the meetings, being able to actually join your video call straight from the application when the call starts. And then also set accountability goals. You can record all your accountability goals. So every week when you get back together, you'll know if you hit those goals or not and when they're due by. And it's pretty funny, actually. If you don't hit your accountability goal, the program will actually send a chat to your whole group saying, oh, you did not hit your accountability goals. So you get all kinds of fun questions to answer.
Yeah. And as far as getting people in, I mean, I've gotten a bunch of people that I worked with together for lunch once a week, right? So we just went to a restaurant and just did it there. I've gone to conferences and met people. I've met people online and then just said, hey, are you interested in doing a call? So if you have kind of an idea of what you want your mastermind group to cover or to achieve, then it gets pretty easy to go out and find other people who are interested in the same thing. And then just be like, hey, look, let's all get together and talk for an hour and we'll make sure that we're moving ahead.
Is your job search stuck? Maybe you're not getting any interviews with employers, or maybe you are, but no job offers. Or you may be new and not even know where to start. This is Charles Max Wood, and I'm releasing a new course and ebook on how to find a job as a software developer. The course walks you through the process of finding the types of companies you want to work for, getting their attention, and putting your best foot forward as the candidate they want. I've coached dozens of developers in looking for jobs and have been able to help several people find jobs within 2 weeks to 2 months. So whether you're new to development, can't find a great job that fits what you want, or are looking for remote work from an area without a strong tech community, I can help. Go to getacoderjob.com and sign up today.
Lucas, you said you had some experience with something very similar. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, of course. So in my company that work now, ZocDoc, we have some guilds that I believe they started based on those Spotify talks that everybody were listening to at some point in the...
Not everybody, I haven't heard those.
In the development moment, there was a moment where people were liking a lot those videos. Can send them to you all. So it's like basically while you have a bunch of teams that have like front-end people, back-end people, design people working on different teams, you would have the guilds, which is like where everybody who worked with front-end would meet. Does it make sense? So like it's every week or every other week, everybody that's working like on the same technology or same domain would meet people from different teams in these guilds. And the way we do our guilds today at ZocDoc, we do a little bit of that. We put some accountability. So every time we meet someone from front end and they have like an interesting challenge that either they solved or they want to solve or something they want to show, we're like, okay, so present it in the guild. So now you have like 50 minutes in the guild. You need to do something, and people, the fact that there's a day, there's a date, there's an hour, and people will be there to watch you. It's really interesting because it creates it helps a lot with the motivation for people to actually go and research whatever they're going to present to. So I find that this accountability and stuff and putting all these checkpoints, I find that it helps a lot. Like people who are going to the guild a lot, they grow really quickly in their domain. In our case, it's front end, right? So it's interesting to see like one initiative that is aiming to do that outside the company, like for people in more different domains.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, it's funny. I haven't heard the term guild like that used outside of World of Warcraft, but that's that's pretty awesome.
Leroy Jink. Oh, sorry. Wrong shit.
Exactly. but no, yeah, perfect example right there. And it sounds very similar, exactly. And yeah, so now, yeah, if you can expand that, right, yeah, to outside of just your domain or your company, and you get to talk with other people in the same industry as you that are dealing with similar types of problems, right? And how are you getting through those together? What challenges are you working on? Let's do something, try to do something cool together, whatever it may be. But yeah, I think it's very similar. How big are those guilds, if you don't mind me asking?
So our front end guild now, it's about 20 people.
Okay. Yeah.
But every guild there are only like 4 presentations. So not everybody present in every guild.
Gotcha.
Yes. But it's interesting because one thing that I think these meetings create is almost like hacking the fact that we are human beings, which when we are in groups, it seems that we work better. It seems that when we see people trying to do things that are similar to what we're doing, we are more engaged. We get motivation, accountability from other people. It's much more powerful than accountability for yourself. Like if I am looking at a to-do list in 1 week, I don't feel as motivated as if other people, I look at my to-do list in a week. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, and it's like supposed to be a positive atmosphere too, right? Like it's, if you didn't hit your accountability goal, it's not going to be, bashing you. Oh, like you don't have to be like scared that you didn't hit it. It's people that are going to, we want to recognize success, motivate you, encourage you, celebrate your wins together. And if you didn't get through something, let's figure it out as a team why you didn't get through it. Like you just said, let's put all of our brains together and figure out what's going on here.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because, this is an important part. It's not about bashing, right? It's like if you don't hit something, bring it also to the table, and everybody is like, okay, so what did not work and how can we do better next time? Like, because for it didn't work for some reason for you, this is also a learning experience for everybody. Like the same reason that it did not work well for you will not work well for other person. So let's all try to solve this together.
Yeah, and it was mentioned earlier, like how someone was, what about shy people or people that, aren't willing to put themselves out there, right? I mean, so this, hopefully, if you can build a comfort zone, first of all, when you're talking to people on a regular basis, maybe, build the account or mastermind groups, guilds, whatever, maybe are all about trust. Like it will go nowhere if you don't have an area of trust. And we use this concept called friendia, right? So basically, whatever we talk about in the mastermind is considered private. We don't talk about it to other people. We don't share this kind of stuff. So, it can get very personal. We can talk about, business plans or things that we're struggling with that we don't want other people to know about, right? So we build this relationship with people that we feel, then we can start to open up with. It's a way to kind of tackle that shyness and hit it straight on, to kind of be able to come out of your shell. I have personally seen that, many introverts within my mastermind group. At first, maybe they didn't say a lot, and now they're speaking much more and they're more comfortable with us, and they provide some awesome ideas. Even if it's just them in the chat giving, typing out their ideas, maybe not verbally saying some things sometimes, but it has definitely helped people reach outside their comfort zone. And you see that even with like Twitch, right? Like people that are scared to program online or scared to put their work out on GitHub. As soon as they start doing it, they start recognizing how much the community is the same as them and dealing with the same problems and same fears, and getting encouragement and finding ways to work through problems together instead of people just bashing. I mean, you're gonna have trolls everywhere, right? But you just gotta cut that stuff out. It's the internet.
Yeah, when we did it, I talked about a group of coworkers going out to lunch and stuff. We called it a BrownBag lunch, and it was, these are the things we want to learn. And so everybody kind of picked one. We decided again what the rotation would be. And about half the time, somebody would come in and basically say, okay, we decided we wanted to learn about this, blah, blah, blah. Here's what we learned. And then the next sentence would basically be, and here's where I have built this into the app, the product that we work on together. And so, a lot of times there would be real world examples where people could actually go back and say, oh, this is where I'm seeing this now.
Yep, exactly.
One other thing, and we talked a little bit about this. I've also been in mastermind groups that turned into basically a big chat fest. So we'd all go meet for lunch, and then we would leave 2 hours later, not having held anyone accountable to anything or having learned anything, because we all just talked about Pokemon or something. So how do you keep people on task? I mean,
Pokemon is awesome.
It's true, but 2 hours kind of waste of time.
Exactly.
Yeah, how do you like format and manage these accountability goals? Is it just like, are they kept in a place? Are they written down? Do people write them down? Is there a common place you can see other people's? Is it up to them to report back?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So within the Mastermind Hunt app directly, you can add your accountability goals. After every meeting, you add it there. People will see your accountability goal. Everybody knows what it is and the date that you said you're going to have it done by. And so if you don't hit it, you get a nice little chat message that pops up that everybody sees. Hey, this person didn't complete their accountability goal by this date. It's funny, actually. One of my my co-founder Eric, one of his mastermind groups, if you don't hit your accountability goal, you have to make a contribution, a donation to the political party that you don't like. So yeah, if you don't hit your accountability goal, then you're endorsing someone that you're probably not too happy about. So that it's just like a small little consequence of not hitting your accountability goal. You can do fun things like that. In another group I'm in, we record everything in a Google Doc. So every meeting we create a new document and we list all of our questions, all our answers, our accountability goals. So every meeting we go back to the previous document and see what they were and talk through if we achieved them or not. So yes, they are recorded. They should be. Everybody should know what they are. Everybody should be checking in on how it's going. And you'll start to see people make better goals, right? If they're not hitting them. If you haven't hit your accountability goal, two meetings in a row, that's already a sign that maybe you got the wrong goal or your priorities aren't right. Let's talk through that and get a better goal going.
I needed to shave my head one time.
There you go. Yep, that would be one that would give you a lot of pressure. So you can do things like that, right? Like, I mean, make bets and stuff, make it fun. To your question, Chuck, I knew you mentioned about how, make it productive. I'm really kind of like big on this one because I don't care how big or small you are, everybody's time is just as precious, right? And so when we're in that meeting for that time, this meeting is about whatever the topic of your, whether it's e-commerce, developers, that's all you're talking about in that meeting, not talking about Pokemon. The online personal finance content creator one that I talked about. Like I have people in there that were like online idols to me, and I completely want to respect their time. So that's why I think it's important to kind of come into the meeting knowing what you're going to talk about. If you're on the hot seat, you have to come in and already kind of know your answers to these questions, and you get right to them. You're not spending time thinking through them and talking through them like on the fly. And then it's up to everybody else to also make sure that they're not, going off on a tangent or letting the person on the hot seat go on a tangent. That happens. I've seen people come in and talk about, personal wins, whether they've achieved, some kind of weight gain, loss or something, which is cool. That's great, but that's not what we're here for today. As soon as the meeting's over, then we can talk about that kind of stuff. But in respect of everybody's time, let's talk about the task at hand here. And you'll find, you still develop a fun, you can make this, this is a very fun environment. I don't want to sound like it's strict or nothing, but if I'm asking the questions, I'm saying, all right, let's get back, let's not get off a tangent. Let's move forward. We got to respect everybody's time here. Or you'll just start to see that people are just going to start leaving. They won't come back. If you don't want to go back to a meeting, if you haven't gone back to a mastermind group, let's say you miss a meeting and then you miss the next one, it's obviously not valuable to you, right? I don't care what you think. You need to leave the meeting yourself if you don't find the desire to keep going back. And the other way around too. If you see some people not attending a meeting, more than 2 times in a row, then you need to have a talk with them, saying, hey, would you be consider leaving? Maybe we can get someone else in here. Maybe you're not getting the value out of it that you thought you would, or you're not, giving the value back, whatever it may be. You want to have active participants that respect everybody's time and are here for the specific, goal of this mastermind group. And then every meeting, though, at the end of the meeting, I'm always BSing with everybody else, and we'll go out for beers and do things outside of what we're just there for in our mastermind session.
So I have a question regarding to this topic, okay, specifically. So it's a hard kind of topic to talk about, but what happens if you meet a group of people, let's say in a conference, okay? You don't really know them that well. And only after you start the meetings, then you realize that, let's say, one of them is a psycho killer. No, is like, someone who just doesn't respect the time or something like that, something bad. I'm trying to just give an example, like taking too much time or something like that. What do you do? How do you get around that, or how do you solve that? Did it ever happen to you?
Yeah.
Or how did you do it?
Yeah, it actually has happened. Definitely. Yeah. We had people in our group that we never hitting our accountability goal. I had one particular individual that kept coming back and beating around the bush every time. Didn't really do any prep for the meetings. Still showed up, but never really put any of our advice to action. And so, I guess we didn't want to put the person on the spot during a whole meeting. So the person that had the best relationship with that individual or whoever maybe invited them to the group, we asked that person to reach out and say, and just let them know our concerns, and or just to say, hey, maybe you're not ready for the group right now. Whatever you're dealing with, maybe go ahead and deal with that. And when you're ready, let us know, and we'll see if we can get you back in. But I think the one-on-one, with someone just kind of saying, hey, do you think, we don't want to necessarily just say, hey, you're kicked out. We want to ask them to be okay and kind of leave. But if we have to, we will. If you ultimately have to, you can kick someone out if you need to. I've never had to do that personally, so hopefully you won't. And then because you want someone else that's going to be in their spot. Like if you can't really add just more people, maybe you can only really get through 3-4 people every meeting. Then you want someone else to be able to come in and take their spot and give value outside of just someone that could be just killing everybody's time.
So I've been through some of this, and I just want to chime in. One is so mastermind groups, you kind of set an ongoing meeting schedule unless you plan to sunset it. But in a lot of those cases, I haven't been in any mastermind groups that have been permanent. I'm currently in one. And in fact, you can go listen to it. It's at EntreProgrammers.com. And we're a lot more free form than what Sean talked about with the structures. So, you can kind of do it however it works for your group. But anyway, the point that I was getting to is that some of the groups have just changed. And so, you wind up talking to people, and instead of having the conversation, we need you to leave, it's, hey, look, the group's changed, or some of us have changed. And so we're going to split from the main group, and we're going to go do our own thing. So sometimes it's, you form the group and you have one bad apple right off the bat. And in that case, like Sean said, you got to figure out how to make that work so that you can, move them out and move somebody else in. But a lot of times this happens to ongoing groups that have been going for a long time. And in those situations, you just need to sit down and make sure everybody's clear on what you're still trying to accomplish with the group, and make sure that works for everybody. And a lot of times people will opt out if you wind up wanting to go in a different direction, or if that's just not what they need anymore. And if the group's changed to where you're not getting what you need out of it, then feel free to go find another group. Just make sure that you're communicating clearly what you need, and make sure that, the rest of the group hasn't moved there with you.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't have to, if you need to leave a mastermind, it doesn't have to die, right? If one person leaves or one person gets kicked out, it can still go on. A nice thing, if you know you're not getting the value out of it, you can leave at any point. You're not obligated at all. It's a volunteer thing. And but the cool thing to do, maybe you have someone else that you can recommend on your way out, right? Like maybe there's someone that it would be a great fit for that mastermind group going forward. Maybe you have achieved all the things to the point that you're happy with, and you're not getting the value anymore because the rest of the group has either stayed down, or maybe it's just not relevant anymore. One of the things in Mastermind Hunt we do is there's a leave button right there. You hit it at any point, and you can leave any mastermind you're within. It doesn't matter. Another thing we do is when people want to join your group, we have an approval process, right? You don't just want anyone hopping in. So they have to provide an introduction and background about them, so you get to know them a little bit before deciding on, I'd like them to hop in the call. And maybe you set up a one-on-one call or something and just talk about your group before you fully kind of let them in and invite them to the ongoing meeting.
And if one other thing I just want to add real quick, if everybody agrees to the rules and structure of the group, then it also makes it really easy to come to somebody and say, hey, look, you agreed to this. It's a problem. We need to fix it. Anyway, go ahead, Lucas.
One experience that I had 2 times that was interesting is not regarding like one person that really needs to leave, but sometimes you see that the preparation overall starts to go to get worse with time. Like the whole preparation of every presentation they give, like in our case, right? The quality of the guild goes down from time to time. You can see that happening. And what I did 2 times that was really interesting. The effects was like I got it like to myself to like raise the bar again. I said I'm gonna put my name next week. I'm gonna present and I'm gonna make like the best 15 minutes I can make. Like I'm gonna give like a really good presentation. So somehow when you go to this meeting and there is like a really good one, you raise the bar. There's no way that like next time the next week people will put a little bit more effort in their presentation, in their preparation. So this is like a subtle way of doing things, and for me it was like amazing. I because being more prepared for something is only good for me, even if it's not for the group. So I did this twice, and the group got better. Like on the next week, next time I talked to someone and I said, "Oh, do you want to talk about it in the guild?" They like understood that. Oh, like the bar is a little bit higher. Like I'm gonna do a good presentation too, and I felt that the level of the whole presentation went up by just like an individual contribution, like a little more effort on your individual contribution. So I think that this works most of the time. Sometimes we have like people that just need to leave. It's difficult to deal with those situations, but I think most of the time is more about people looking around and see that the other people are not as committed as you thought they were, and then you get a little bit less committed too, and then the quality goes down. So these moments I go there and I just like raise the bar again.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, it's the way we've seen that. We use templates, right? So we have a template document, and so it's really, we make it as easy as possible for whoever's on our hot seat to just kind of come in and just answer these questions beforehand. Make it, and you'll see people that really go to town on that, right? And they go crazy with all the stuff they enter in there, and some people that just add a few words. And it's kind of hard because it's on one side it's like, okay, maybe you're just really good at talking and you only need a few points, and you're just really good presenting or doing live things and sharing. Or on the other side, you put way too much stuff in this document and we're never going to get through it at the same time. But yeah, the quality, that's a good one. Yeah. I mean, the quality, the people you have in your group, this is a good one too, right? Like whoever starts the meeting, whoever kicks it off, just, it's all that initial attitude can set the tone for the whole meeting, so coming in excited, positive, that's why I like doing like the wins and the sharing something in the beginning of a meeting. It just kind of gets people engaged, people excited. And then, I don't know, I guess they're feeling like, they're ready to go by that time.
I'm wondering how you actually tackle, let's say someone comes in with their goals like day in and day or every single regularly scheduled week, and they are not hitting those goals. So they're kind of moving towards the goalpost, but they're not hitting the exact goals that they want. So there's a lot of frustration in these meetings, let's say. Like, how do you keep people like that engaged? Because they are still working towards the goal. They still have like the idea of wanting to be successful, but they're not necessarily like, they might not be as successful as they want to be. So how would you keep people like that as engaged without them just completely leaving the group?
Right. Yeah. So I guess, obviously the first thing I think of is, they're just making too big of goals. So they just need to be better at breaking them down into smaller tasks.
Right.
Maybe more smaller tasks so they still feel like, oh yeah, look, I knocked out these 3 small ones instead of not hitting this big, huge one that I keep setting myself up for failure for. And that's kind of where I come back to that term, the SMART accountability goals, right? Something that's smart, measurable, achievable. That's the big thing, make something that's achievable by the next time you get back. And it's really up to the responsibility of all the other members in the group to say something if they recognize that. Like, you haven't hit your goal in the past 2 or 3 weeks. Why do you think that is? I think you're being a little too ambitious, or it's something else that's getting in the way. The most common thing I see in all my mastermind groups is usually related to organization and scheduling and time blocks, and people just don't know how they work. Like, it's a lot of times figuring out what kind of person you are, how do you work best? Are you a morning person? Do you need to make sure that whatever your goal is, that's the first thing you're looking at every day before moving on to check Facebook, or social media? That happens all the time. And so a lot of times, a lot of the reasons we see people not hit their goals is always related to scheduling. It's just priorities and scheduling. So usually it's just, their priorities are mixed up. They need to kind of revisit and sit down on their priorities. Now, we have also seen where people don't meet their accountability goals because they don't feel the accountability. They're not as motivated from the group maybe anymore. And that has been where we've actually asked someone to leave because we just don't think they were getting the value out of it. They liked being there because it was fun, but at the same time, they were kind of, just being there because it was fun was kind of, they were never moving their business forward, and at the same time, we never really felt like they were kind of actively participating in everybody else's hot seat because they weren't going through the trials and tribulations everybody else was. So it was very hard for them to share those with everybody else by them constantly not even hitting or trying to meet their accountability goal.
That's fair. And on that note, I was just curious, do you have a sense of because lots of the times people come in to these kinds of meetings, guilds or mastermind groups, with the idea that they have this big idea of changing some part of their life or being successful in one aspect. But then that enthusiasm tapers away with time. It's the same with when people at New Year's, it's like, I'm going to hit the gym every single day. And then by the end of January, they don't do it anymore. So how do you keep members of mastermind groups engaged so that they're on track constantly without that taper off? And do you see the trend of a drop off rate in these groups?
Yeah, consistency is the big thing there, right? I mean, it's just doing things consistently on a regular basis, making it a habit, part of your routine. That's where we see the most success. Even with people, running a podcast or a blog, it's like, at least initially, they need to be consistent. But yeah, I do see people veer off because what we do is in one of my mastermind groups is at the beginning of every year, we set big rocks. So we say by the end of the year, these are the 3 big things I want to accomplish. And so what we do is we keep those kind of on the forefront, right? We know what those are. And so as we're going throughout the year and we're setting these small, week to week goals, we're still making sure that they're not veering from that big rock, or if it did, why did it? Have your goals changed? I mean, it ultimately, it comes down a lot of time to really wanting it. Like you're not, if you want to do something, you have to really want it. Right. And if they're not doing it, or if they're not making any strides towards that big rock, it's most likely because there's something else they want to do more. They think they want to do something, but until they actually do it, they don't really know that they don't want to, and there's something else instead. But yeah, I mean, throughout the year, there's seasons too, right? I mean, it's summer, kids out of school, whatever it may be. We do see times where, holidays, for instance, we just had Thanksgiving here recently. So, yeah, we had some people miss some accountability goals. So, that kind of stuff's going to happen. You have to kind of, I guess, be forward looking before you set your goals and know, hey, do I have vacation coming up, things like that. But yeah, I mean, it's just making it a fun environment. And when you do get in every meeting, make it a place people want to come back with, congratulating people often, keeping it motivating, and then being consistent, meeting on a regular basis. Maybe you're not meeting enough. Maybe you're meeting too much. So you mentioned, one group kind of died off or didn't meet their accountability goals on every time. Maybe that group is meeting too often. Because I know even like with like a podcast, for example, that I run, it was really cool at first doing everything once a week, every week, but then it just felt like another thing I had to do. So I scaled it back a little bit, and now it's fun again because I have a little bit more time in between. It changes, it's I guess moving with the tides.
Anything else that we should discuss before we go to picks?
Just to recap the process, you meet every 2 weeks and you have a hot seat. And I don't remember if everybody is on the hot seat for the meeting, or just like one person at a time, like every meeting it's a different person. Just that part, I don't remember.
Yeah,
I've been in groups that worked both ways. I've been in groups that everybody got a hot seat every time. EntreProgrammers kind of operates that way generally. If somebody has something to bring up, it comes up. Some of the other ones, there were like one or two of us every week when we met. I've been in mastermind groups that met once a month and operated that way. So it really, really depends on your group and how you want to structure it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm in the 3-person mastermind group I'm in. We do a round robin. Every meeting, each one of us is on the hot seat every 2 weeks. The other group, the 12-person mastermind group I'm in, we meet every 2 weeks as well, but we only put 2 people on the hot seat for 30 minutes apiece. So I might not be on the hot seat again for 2 months. So much different. So, and it doesn't have to be 2 weeks. It can be any, you get, I think an initial kind of kickoff meeting is great with people that you want in the group. Hey, what schedule works for everybody? How often do we want to meet? If we do that, how can we split that time up to make sure to either get everybody on the hot seat every time, or maybe just focus on one person for that full extent of time. It could be just dependent on the niche you're in or what the group's about. That determines kind of, how often or how long whoever's in the hot seat needs.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
All righty. Well, before we do picks, Sean, do you want to give out the link for the webinar that we're going to be doing? Because I'm sure some people are going to hear this and they're going to be like, I have more questions, and they'll know where to find us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thanks, Chuck. We're excited. Yeah, we're going to be doing a webinar Thursday, January 3rd at 3 p.m. or 2 p.m. Eastern. I'm already forgetting, but
2 p.m. Eastern.
2 p.m. Eastern. All right. And the link is mastermindhunt.com/devchat. So if you go there, you can register for the webinar, and we'll have a presentation where we'll kind of walk you through the history and what a mastermind group is. And then we'll show you some examples of, how we run some mastermind groups, some things that have came out of them, and give you a demo as well of the app. So you can kind of see how it will help you find a mastermind group, create one if you just want to start one out there and you don't see one you like, and also run your mastermind group every time you meet.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and do some picks.
Do you run your own freelance business? Or maybe you're thinking about picking up some business on the side? Well, then you need FreshBooks. FreshBooks is the quickest and easiest way to get invoices out to your clients. It's easy to use. It works anywhere, available from any device, on the desktop, iPhone, iPad, Android, and all of your data is backed up and secure. And it makes it really easy to get organized and get paid. You'll be tracking time, logging expenses, and invoicing your clients in no time. You can also save time billing, freeing up several days per month to focus on the work that you love, and you get paid faster. FreshBooks customers are paid on average 5 days faster because there's a link on the invoice that says pay me now. And it's a great way to grow your business. Plus, FreshBooks is offering a 30-day trial. That's right, 30-day trial if you try them out. So go to gofreshbooks.com/devchat and enter devchat in the How Did You Hear About Us section. Once again, for a 30-day trial, go to gofreshbooks.com/devchat and enter devchat in the How Did You Hear About Us section.
Shai, do you want to start us off with picks?
Yeah, why not? So I have one pick. It's a guy called Bob Proctor. You might know him. He's a very famous, motivational speaker, or I call it instant psychology speaker. And he's really into the Think and Grow Rich book. And every now and then I need a reminder to realign my thoughts and watch what I'm thinking of, and not and staying positive and not letting negativity kicks in. So every time I need a boost, I just Google Bob Proctor on YouTube and just watch anything this guy have to say. It's not like the best, I think, delivery style. It's like a very old school style of teaching, but the content is amazing. So really recommend him.
Awesome. Joe, what are your picks?
Okay, so I got 3 picks today. The first one is a website, Cool Stuff Inc. It's a mostly board games, although they sell other related type items like magic cards and stuff. But I really like it for board games. It's oftentimes even better pricing than Amazon, and they have a lot more of like the newer stuff than Amazon does and better reviews and such. So if you're looking for a place to buy board games online, I can highly recommend Cool Stuff Inc. My next pick is a board game, of course. Luxor, I think I picked this in the past, but Luxor is an amazing board game where you basically get to play Indiana Jones. You're competing with everybody else to go and find the most things in a temple or a pyramid or something like that. And then my final pick is we just launched today this really awesome new initiative at NGConf. And so at NGConf, we have 20-minute talks, and we have some longer talks. Mostly it's 20-minute talks. And does seem short, but when you're a busy person, you want to consume a lot of media, even 20 minutes can be a long time, and you're not really sure if it's a talk you want to watch the whole of or what. So NGConf is now producing a thing called NGConf Minified, which is short versions of all of the talks, about 4 minutes. We cut them down and edit them down to about 4 minutes from what their original 20 minutes was. And you can watch those and find either maybe you get all the content from the talk from NGConf, which of course these are Angular related talks, right? Maybe you get enough of the content, you don't want to watch the whole thing, or in the 4 minutes you find out that, yeah, this is a good enough talk, I want to watch the whole thing, or there's more content in here, I want to see all the details. And so that's what we launched that today. I was really excited. We had a big live event, and a lot of people have responded very favorably to it. So that's my final pick, NGConf Minified.
Nice. Do they get obfuscated when they get minified?
Uglified. We had some comments about uglified and such. Was pretty funny.
Nice.
I don't need the uglification. I'm ugly.
Lucas, do you have some picks for us?
Hi. Yes, I have. So in our life as devs, we always are dealing with other people, right? And we're always dealing with feedback to other people, be either like through code review or just working with people in the same team. You being a leader or not, this is constant in our lives. And one friend of mine, we were talking about it, and he said like, "Oh, there's this bestseller book in business." Called Radical Candor. That is like a really good book about feedback. And I'm listening to it right now. It's an audiobook, and it's really good. It's like illuminating in terms of, she talks about giving honest feedback, but not being like the importance of giving honest feedback and ways to deal with that situation that we usually try to avoid because we don't like conflict, and how important it is. Even like we don't like conflict, we don't like to give negative feedback, but she talks about the importance of it, and of course like thousands of ways of doing that in a better way than just being blunt and aggressive. So it's I recommend this book. I'm in the middle now, and it's really good.
Awesome. Divya, what are your picks?
Cool. So my first pick is related to the Bob Proctor one. Actually, it made me think about, I listen to Alan Watts, like a lot of Alan Watts, and a lot of his talks are about spirituality. And so if you're not like someone who's into that, that's totally fine, because he also talks about the human condition and in terms of like the way that your mind works, which I think is really interesting. And it's just things to think about. And that's a really great one. That's completely not software related, but really nice to just like ponder. And then my second is actually something related to what Joe organizes, which is Framework Summit. he mentioned videos that came out for ngconf, but he didn't mention the videos that came out for Framework Summit, which is a conference that he organizes, which is wonderful because it brings similar to what this podcast has done, it brings people from different communities across the JavaScript world together to talk about similar things. So componentization, routing, and so on. And that the videos are all up, so you can look at the content for that. And it's really good quality stuff if you get the chance to see it. And then my other one is about writing. So I've been trying to improve the way that I write. And one of the books that I really like is called Several Short Sentences About Writing. And you can find it online. I keep forgetting the author's name. But it's nice because it is written in short sentences, but it's snippets and food for thought. So you don't have to read the book cover to cover. You can just read it in pieces, and it's something to it's a way for you to kind of reassess the way that you're writing. And the whole point is that we have grammar structures and sentence structures that were beaten into us when we were in school of how to write a specific way. And this book tries to change that notion of that to be like, there are different ways of writing that can make you more creative and make you more legible or understandable. So those are my picks.
Awesome. I will plus one for Framework Summit. That was a ton of fun. And it was fun to see.
I'll plus one that too. I heard it was good.
Yeah. I think the entire panel for Views on View, except for John Papa, were there. Or was John there too? No, I don't think he was. Anyway.
No, John was not there.
But yeah, so we all got to hang out. That was a lot of fun too. I'm going to go ahead and throw out a couple of picks. One is the week after the webinar, I'm going to be in Las Vegas for CES. So if you head over to devchat.tv/events, I should have information up there about where we can meet up one evening and snacks and food. I'm still waiting to find out when all the press events are because I get access to those. So it's a little bit up in the air as we record this, but this should come out within the next few days, and I should have a better idea. So I'm going to shout out about that. And then the other pick that I have is modern freaking medicine. I got an infection over Thanksgiving and was feeling pretty terrible. I couldn't figure out exactly what was going on. Went down to the doctor's office Sunday morning because I just couldn't take it anymore. They ran a quick test, prescribed me an antibiotic, and I was on my way. I was out of there in like a half hour and just went to the pharmacy, and things are starting to get a little bit better. So yeah, modern medicine. It's amazing. Sean, what are your picks?
Yeah, so I just recently left Austin, Texas after being there 2 years. Originally from the 757 area. So shout out to them. That's in the Hampton Roads, kind of Virginia Beach area. And so one of the things that I mentioned earlier, I was kind of involved in the user groups and conferences here, and it's cool to still see him going. And buddy Kevin and a few other great people in this community, like Linda Nichols and Eric, and a bunch of awesome other people, are still running a conference called Revolution Conf. Looks like it's going to happen again here in June. Their website is revolutionconf.com. So yeah, I'll go ahead and pick that. I'll just go ahead and give a little shout out to the local conference. Actually, it's a regional conference, so it's one of those. It's just for developers uniting. So we'll have all kinds of stuff there. I know they've had JavaScript, .NET, database stuff. It's been all over the board. So it's really cool to see everybody coming in from Northern Virginia, North Carolina, wherever it may be. We've had people come from overseas and speak. So yeah, Revolution Conf, check it out.
Yeah, a guy I know submitted a talk, so you should put in a good word for him. I'll get you the name later. Anyway, so Sean, if people want to find you online, where do they go?
Yeah, you can so check out my podcast, Two Frugal Dudes. It's me and Kevin Griffin. It's one that started out of the community. So me and him, after running some user groups, we would go have pie and bacon, for those who know us.
That sounds so wonderful.
And we just kept talking about money, outside of those meetings, because so many of our software development peers and us at the time were making good money, but didn't really know what to do with it. So eventually we started recording those conversations, and that turned into a podcast, Two Frugal Dudes. That's number 2, frugaldudes.com. You can check us out there or on any, podcast player. And otherwise you can find me on Twitter at Sean Merron, SeanMerron.
All right, can we get that link one more time? It was mastermindhunt.com/devchat.
That's right. That's it.
So yeah, I'm going to be on the webinar. So, I'll make fun of Sean and Eric while they're saying smart stuff. It'll all be good.
That's right.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Thanks to our panelists for coming, and we will be back at you next week.
Bandwidth for this segment is provided by CacheFly, the world's fastest CDN. Deliver your content fast with CacheFly. Visit CACHEFLY.com to learn more.